We finally get details on how Samsung plans to implement some of the features teased for its Galaxy S26 Ultra. Apple's special event already has a ton of speculation when it comes to phones, MacBooks, iPads, and even the smart home. Meta seems to be planning a bigger push into wearables given its recent success. iOS 27 and its companion operating systems are reportedly going to fulfill some new consumer requests. And yes, Apple's plans for wearables sound pretty aggressive once you consider how many products are coming. I'm Jaime Rivera, and it's that time again for these 5 interesting topics. This is TechBriefing powered by MediaTek. The official news this week actually began with Apple, but for more than just their event. Yes, the company has sent out invitations for their special event experience on March 4th, 2026 at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thing is, I think this is the first time I see an Apple experience event happening in multiple locations, this being New York City, London, and Shanghai. The colorful 3D logo in the invite suggests a more playful theme, and the timing aligns with several expected launches that were rumored, so let's discuss that. To start, most sources are claiming there will definitely be an iPhone 17e at this event. We've covered the possible design changes extensively, from the possible dynamic island to MagSafe magnets to a newer chip and a C1X modem, all for $599. Thing is, last year Apple didn't really do an in-person event even for the brand new iPhone 16e, so of course this means there's gotta be more. We heard the iPad Air inventory was running thin, so we expect it to be upgraded with M4. We even heard of the M5 MacBook Pros, but then neither of these products have historically gotten an in-person event either. The only thing we can think of is a dramatically new product, and one would be the low-cost MacBook, expected to be powered by Apple's A19 Pro, featuring a 12.9-inch display, a batch of fun colors, and the price that's below $1,000. The other is what some of us have dubbed the HomePad, being a HomePod with an iPad display and new AI features. Let me know what you're predicting for this event in the comments. Let's continue with Apple's future, as it seems the Tim Cook recent teaser has a lot to do with wearables. According to a new report by Mark Gurman, the company is reportedly working on 3 new AI-focused wearables. Remember last year when we discussed rumors of AirPods with cameras? Okay, that's one. Smart glasses is another, and a clip-on pendant is the third. For those of you asking yourself why things like AirPods would need cameras, well, apparently these are infrared cameras, and the context is rather interesting. Gurman claims that all these devices will initially work around the iPhone, pretty much as augmented sensors. All 3 would be built around the new Siri and rely on visual context from onboard cameras to understand surroundings and trigger actions. So the AirPods and the pendant are expected to use low-resolution cameras mainly for AI input rather than photos, while the glasses would feature higher quality cameras, speakers, and microphones for a more advanced always-on assistant experience. The smart glasses are set to focus on real-world awareness rather than displays, helping users identify objects, navigate using landmarks, and create reminders based on what you're seeing. Meanwhile, the pendant would act as an eyes and ears accessory for the iPhone, offering constant listening and environmental awareness with limited onboard processing power. Apple is reportedly positioning all 3 as new AI-driven product categories, arriving as soon as next year. And if you think of it, while these do sound like interesting approaches to wearables, I find them especially useful for accessibility features for users that have any sort of impairment. We've seen Apple make huge strides in this direction with AirPods, Apple Watch, and iPhone, so we'll see. I'm curious to know what your thoughts about all this are in the comments. Let's switch to Meta, as the company has clearly realized that some strategies are worth pursuing further. We've seen how the company has banked hard on its hardware game, though it's interesting that the success wasn't really in the nerdy MetaQuest products. Instead, we saw it with the lifestyle efforts in partnership with Ray-Ban and Oakley. Thing is, there were rumors long ago of the company also working on a smartwatch, and now we're getting back to that. We've heard a device codenamed Malibu 2, which could actually indicate a second iteration to the project. According to recent reports, the wearable could launch sometime in 2026 and is expected to shift focus towards health tracking and deeper integration with Meta AI rather than just acting as a companion device for notifications notifications and social media. Now, exact features remain unclear, but earlier leaks suggest that Meta was exploring an Android-based platform similar to the software we get on the Quest headsets. Whether that'll be Wear OS or its own forked version of Android is yet to be seen, but I think the latter would be a better idea. The company is also said to be working on new smart glasses with a built-in display planned for later 2026, marking a step up from the current camera and audio-focused models, though I am hoping that these are better than the current Meta Ray-Ban displays, which are kind of weird from one lens. Now, despite regulatory scrutiny and mixed reactions to earlier experiments, Meta appears committed to building a broader ecosystem of AI-driven wearable devices, but I like the whole health approach. Let's see if they get mental health right, as, that lawsuit is going really interesting. I'm curious to know what you think about all this in the comments. Now let's switch to Apple, as it seems their software strategy won't be at all like what we saw last year. iOS 26 and all the other Apple operating systems weren't just a refresh in number scheme, but also a major change in visuals. So obviously the question now is what to expect for iOS 27, and well, this could be good or bad depending on how you look at it. If history serves as a reference, most sources claim that iOS 27 will be a much needed improvement, but under the hood. We've seen Apple do this before with different operating systems that follow major redesigns, and reports claim this will be no different. What we are expecting is for engineers to be cleaning up legacy code, rewriting parts of the operating system, and optimizing applications to make the OS feel faster and more responsive, which would also mean better endurance. At the same time, iOS 27 is expected to play a key role in Apple's next phase of hardware and AI. I mean, we were expecting the new Siri to be ready for iOS 26.4, and, the betas are out, and we haven't really seen much of it. We even hear iOS 27 is reportedly being prepared to support upcoming device categories like foldable iPhones, a possible new Mac form factor, while also serving as the platform for delayed Apple Intelligence features. Regardless, we continue to hear that the chatbot-style Siri might not be ready until this future release that we are expected to be announced at WWDC in June and then launched in the fall. I'm curious to know what you think about all these possible updates in the comments. Now, before we get to the hottest news, let me tell you about today's sponsor, MediaTek. This would be the second year where Motorola chooses Dimensity for its most beloved Razr, and I can see why. Last year's model proved to be great in performance and endurance, and this year's Razr has only gotten better with its Dimensity 7400X and its advanced 4nm architecture. Seriously, this phone has got the looks, has the feel, and then all of this is matched with snappy performance, reliable connectivity, and even better endurance on its slim form factor. It's clearly the reason Motorola continues to trust MediaTek year over year. Thanks to MediaTek for sponsoring this video. And finally, for the most interesting news today, let's talk about Samsung and what's coming over the next few days, as some important details have just emerged on the how for some of the features coming to the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Now, before we get to that, let's talk about Galaxy Buds, as it seems leaks just got even better. Some dummy units have apparently emerged on both the Galaxy Buds 4 and Galaxy Buds 4 Pro, showing off a pretty redefined redesign. The biggest change seems to be what appears to be a metallic finish, which, helps differentiate them from what Apple is doing, at least in something. If anything, what seems to be very much Samsung is the charging case, returning to the small cube we remember from 2 and 3 generations ago. I'm hoping this means wireless charging remains, along with a way to locate them with ease. But back to the Galaxy S26 series, for those of you wondering how the privacy display is going to work, well, first of all, we hear the feature is exclusive to the Ultra. Go figure. The technology actually works at a panel level to obscure content from side angles while keeping it clear for the user, similar to a built-in privacy filter. Early details suggest users may even be able to hide specific elements like notifications instead of the entire screen. It does sound like a pretty interesting must-have and not just a gimmick. Now, as for the rest, well, we hear that while the selfie camera will remain of 12 megapixels, it'll be a new Sony sensor with better processing and field of view for group shots, though sadly, apparently it's not going to be squared. In today's question, let me know. If you could ask for a single feature for the next Galaxy S26 Ultra, what would it be? Because in my case, honestly, I just want the company to go back to its roots of camera innovation. The Ultra was a trendsetter, and now it's lagging behind everything that China is making, and even the iPhone. I'm curious to know what you would like to see in the comments. Friends, thanks so much for joining on this new episode of Tech Briefing. Please like, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, as I'm sure you see me try to respond to as many as I can. Also, follow me on social media as more behind-the-scenes work continues to happen there. Also, guys, by the way, episode 3 of our Technically There podcast with Josh is coming soon, and yes, we're both going to be at Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked covering it live. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.